I wasn't even gonna make a video on this, but now I feel convinced to, propelled to. I don't know what word I'm looking for there, but that's fine. I guess I should explain kind of why I'm talking about this now. I am subscribed to a YouTube channel called Harmony Nice. I love her a lot. And she mainly talks about like witchcraft, but the video she just recently uploaded was about performing a ritual that would help her to get in touch with her dead grandmother, and she didn't get in touch with her grandmother. She got in touch with something else, and she was talking about how she had an astral projection kind of lucid dreaming experience where she basically saw and experienced a mass of black form with glowing eyes that was just like radiating evil. And here's the thing, I'm not like afraid of death, and I'm not afraid of dying, and to explain it, like the fear that I have of spirits and contacting spirits has more to do with like common sense kind of fear. I don't really know how to explain it because it's just an instinct inside of me that is like, you know, abort, rather than like being afraid because you don't understand, I guess. I've never considered spirits to like not exist just based off of like conversations I've had with people who have had experiences with spirits, as well as just like being pretty open to the idea. So I've like never been like, no, this could not be possible. It's always been like, yeah, this is probably possible. I've just never personally 100% for sure experienced it, except for maybe like twice. So but yeah, the whole entire time I was listening to the story, I was genuinely freaked out and like sweating. So I played a game to distract myself while I listened, because I had just had a lucid dream kind of astral projection experience. I took a nap because I just could not function, and during that nap I had a dream, and I ended up making a Twitter thread because it was just very interesting and in depth, like the dream and like all the symbolism and everything within it. So listening to that video just really freaked me out. So I'm sitting here and I'm like, let's just talk about the dream that I had, because I think it's pretty interesting. My whole life I've been able to lucid dream, which I think is a very rare experience. And I'm not going like, hey, I can lucid dream. Like, no, I'm just being very honest. Like, for most of my life I didn't realize that my dreaming experience was completely and utterly different from other people. I just did not understand. And like looking at it now, I probably have had like unintentionally had some sort of like magic within dream and dream experience and like the dream escape. So I probably, whatever that, I should look it up. What is it? Okay, so it's called a hedge witch, also known as an astral title, a type of magic that is oriented around more spiritual work. Astral travel / projection, lucid dreaming, spirit work, healing, and out-of-body experiences are all practices included in this magic. Okay, so I probably have some sort of hedge magic within me, because the fact that I just always lucid dream or I don't dream is just too obscure and like crazy, and I can't even fucking function with it. And that's the funny thing, is like, I remember reading through this list, I just want to talk about this for a second. I remember reading through this list of like different types of magics that witches can practice, because technically I've been sort of, in my own way, been practicing witchcraft for like 10 years now. Almost 10 years. Because I was about 10 years old, I want to say 10 or 11, so I feel like it's almost been 10, anyways, the point is, yeah, I mean, they were talking about how a hedge witch does not belong to a coven, and I have no interest in being a part of a coven and never have. So a lot of stuff just like is starting to make sense now. Like, I just never really looked into like spells and like I guess those kinds of work, but like I've unintentionally created sigils. Like, I would dream and I would like create sigils in my dreams and like come out and be like drawing symbols and being like, what the fuck are these symbols? And I wish I kept a lot of them because they were probably really important. Like, I just have, I know I have animal magic within me because I naturally attract animals, specifically wild animals, specifically owls. I have attracted owls to like sit not far from me in the middle of the day. Like there's just a lot of stuff that I can go into, so I just want to talk about this specific dream that I had several hours earlier in this video, and then in other videos, I don't know, I think this is really interesting, and it's not something I get to talk about a lot, so I have to start talking about witchcraft, and specifically dreaming, in like videos. So here we go. So the dream I had earlier, and I'll link below my Twitter thread, because I just kind of explained it all within the Twitter thread, so I'll even pull it up so I can refer to it. Twitter.com/stargyver. Okay, so the dream itself, I either start dreams like in a very beginning and like work my way through, or I start a dream somewhere in the middle of like whatever the dream is and like have previous knowledge of what had happened before the dream began, kind of like how you get dumped in the middle of a story and then they kind of explain like past things that happened and then are like, here's what your present is now and here's your future, like what you're going into, like the story takes place in time over as the future goes. I don't know if this is making sense because like everything is just jumbled in my mind at this point, but like I was just placed in the middle of the dream and I knew automatically, well, first of all, I was lucid dreaming because I could control my body, and I knew automatically that my roommates and I had been on a road trip. We'd taken their dogs with them, and we got stranded at this house that was like, it was abandoned, like no one was there, but it was like well upkept. Whatever we were doing that took us on this road trip had led us to this address that we figured was wrong, but like, because like no one was there, but it was the right address. So we were like, why the fuck are we here? And it was raining and storming. It wasn't storming, but it was like raining. There was like a little bit of thunder distance. Had been storming while we were on the road, and so like now it was pretty calm. And it was the middle of the night, and I had woken up for whatever reason, and so I was in this dream. And I just remember getting up and walking around and trying to find lights. So I was like turning on, like it was really weird, like I was turning on like all these little lamps and like other lights, and I heard dogs barking in the house. And automatically I was just like, oh, it's my roommate's dogs. And then I heard my roommate's dogs start to bark, and I'm just like, there's other dogs in this house, because when we'd walked in, there'd been like, the lights had been turned on. Like I just remember having a flash of memory of like the lights had been turned on, there was like no one else here. We took the 2 rooms at the very front of the house. What the fuck is going on? And I walk out, and my roommates are stepping out with the dogs, and they're like, you know, something's going on, we need to check. So we walk back. The lights that we had turned on were turned off. We turn them on, and there's the main living space, and there are just like 30 dogs in this living space. And the living space had gotten bigger. And here's the thing, I had been in this house in a previous dream, so I was walking around, and while I see all these, like after I were like, what the fuck, there are these dogs, when I would like walk forward into the room a little bit more to see the dogs better, I'm like, I've been in this house before. And so like my brain is just like, I've been in this house before, what is this house, and why am I here again with my roommates? And I step forward and I walk up to one of the dogs, because they weren't doing anything, they were just kind of like standing there. They looked lost, and I'm like, huh, you know, they're really calm. And I walk up to one, and I'm like, that's my handwriting. There was a sticky note stuck on the dog with my handwriting, and I reach down to pick it up, and I wake up. So that's the gist of like the dream. So yeah, I'd been in that house before, and I don't know, I don't remember what dream it was that I've been in that house, but actually I sort of like have an inkling, but I don't know why those 2 dreams would be linked, because there's like, but that just kind of like frightens me. Here's the thing, so it's like, this is not the first time I've been lucid dreaming, because I lucid dream like all the time. I just can't always control my dreams, but I 100% always know that I'm dreaming. I just 99% of the time can't control my dreams, so there's like that 1% where I can't. So if I can't, like this dream, I either wake up or I have to do something in order to wake up. It's really weird. It's just a couple days prior, I pulled a card, a tarot card, or a card from my medicine cards, because I don't technically do tarot, I do animal medicine cards. I pulled a card from my deck, and I pulled the owl. And this is the first time where from what I can remember, that I've pulled a card, and my dream has been kind of linked, I think, within theories, to that card. And it's just like, the heck. So the owl card, to kind of like talk about this. So for instance, here's my book, and it has all the different little definitions for all the cards. Yeah, cool. And I would go into better explanations. I'd like to talk about these cards at some point, so that's why I'm not bothering right now. But like, here's the owl card. So I pulled it from my deck. The owl card symbolizes clairvoyance, astral projection, and magic. 1, I have always been able to lucid dream, and I have astral projected before, and I kind of astral projected into that dream, which is why it was so creepy, because I woke up and I was in my bedroom, and I walked out of the room, and I stepped into the house, and then it was like the dream happened. It was just really fucking weird. So I'm like really creeped out in like mostly a good way, but also just creeped out in general, because the owl card, like I said, it symbolizes astral projection, it symbolizes clairvoyance, and it symbolizes magic and dream magic. And I'm just like, okay, so apparently I'm supposed to intuit something from this dream. Okay, so I paused for a tea break, and then the computer glitched, so I got distracted. So I'm back. I think I was talking about what the owl card represents. So I thought it'd just be kind of cool for people who don't do animal medicine cards, which is probably a lot of people, even people who do tarot would not know about this. So I thought it'd be kind of cool to just kind of read about what owl medicine is, and then I'm going to go into a couple more things about things I noted within the dream, and then also just in general what's happening around me, and then I'm going to talk about theories. And I'm rambling because this is exciting, and I'm just, this is just wild for me. So I wanted to share the experience. So here I am in video form. So like I said, owl medicine is typically associated with clairvoyance, astral projection, and magic, both black magic and white magic. So the owl, unlike humanity, is not afraid of night, of dark, and of the unseen, and the owl is also called night eagle within several Native American communities. So, by the way, the animal medicine cards are linked with Native American medicine and practices, which I also think is like really fascinating, and is something I'd like to later talk about. So the owl is often linked with the medicine of sorcerers and witches. So it says that if the owl is in your medicine, you'll be drawn to magical practices and perhaps explore the dark arts. Yes to both of those, because that's something I've been interested in and sort of practicing like most of my life. You should resist any temptation to explore black magic or any art that takes energy away from another person or being. Yeah, I know that already, and I'm not planning on doing that. If you have if you have owl medicine, these night birds will have a tendency to collect around you even in daytime because they recognize a kinship with you. Yes, like I said, that has happened before when I was a kid. Actually, when I was 10 or 11, which is around the time I started like specifically being interested in witchcraft and or practicing it. So ironic. Or I can't remember, I feel like there were 2 different occasions, because I remember I was sitting in a tree and an owl landed, but I also remember, no, it happened 2 different times, and I was 2 different ages. When I was younger, I was sitting in a tree, and I was writing poetry or drawing, and an owl landed in a tree like a couple feet away from me, like a little bit upwards, and just sort of looked at me and didn't move. And I was like, well, I'm not gonna fuck with you, you're an owl. Like, we're not gonna go down that path. So I just continued to draw, and I drew part of the owl, and I just like chilled with an owl like 5 feet away from me. But like more like 10, because it was like up, but like the tree was 5 feet away from me, like that kind of thing. And it flew away. And then when I was older, 10 or 11, there was an owl in the tree that I had been sitting in a couple years prior, when that owl had been in that other tree. And so I walked out, and the owl didn't move from the tree. and I just sat below it and started writing poetry, and the owl sat in the tree above me and didn't move. And it sat like that for like 30 minutes, because I was out there for a good while because my parents eventually walked out, and the owl didn't even move. Like, it twitched, it moved a little bit, but it didn't move from the tree. It just sort of like shifted back and forth. Like, it was very uncomfortable. And when I didn't show any uncomfortableness, because at the time my parents and I had a pretty good relationship, the owl noticed that I didn't move, so it just sort of like settled back down, but it was wary. And my parents came out and was like asking what I wanted for dinner, so I'd been out there for like an hour, and they left. And the owl calmed down. And then it eventually left. It chased after a squirrel down the street. So yeah, so like those are two like particular times, but I have like been face to face with an owl, and I have had other experiences with owls, but like those are the two experiences like as a kid that I can specifically remember. So like I feel like I've always been connected to owls and owl medicine. So it's just like really exciting to like pull back like a lot of things from my childhood that like link to stuff that's happening. Like I'm really excited. So if you're not interested in like animal medicine and my cards and like dreams and stuff, like this is really not the video for you, and I don't know why you stayed, but like for those of you guys who have like stayed through me rambling, like I'm glad you're here, because it's pretty cool and I'm excited to share. Another thing about the owls is that, yes, many cultures describe owls for wisdom. So in Native American practices, they honor the owl and I guess, kind of like how tarot cards have like the king, or God, fuck, I don't even know like what it is at this point, but it's like the king of swords, or like the 3 of cups, like how it has those like specific titles for each of the cards, but like it also has a name. The owl, its medicine is, specifically Native American medicine, is deception rather than wisdom like other cultures. And the reason for that is because the owl, if the owl is your personal medicine, it means that no one can like deceive you. Like, of course, like not all the time you're going to be able to pick out lies, but most of the time you're going to be able, like when you're with a person, whether it's through text or just hearing their voice, or like being on a video call with them, or like in person, you're able to detect lies. And for most of my life, that has been like friends, people I don't know that well, they can message me just via text, and I can just tell that something is off, and I'm like, are you okay? And they'll be like, no, actually I'm not. And I'm like, how did I know that? I know. The same could be said about people I don't specifically know, but I meet in person for the first time. I know that something is off, and the worst thing about that is that I'll know something is off, but I don't know them well enough that I can ask them if they're okay and if they need a lending ear, and it's just very awkward for me, because I'm just sitting there the whole time and I'm like, I know you're feeling like bad and no one else is noticing, but I know you're having a bad day and I'm really sorry, like how do I approach this? So I guess I never realized until now that this could be part of like the owl medicine, but like I guess I kind of intuited that as like being an empath, or a highly sensitive person, because for most of my life I feel like I was a highly sensitive person, and then as time has gone on, I feel like I've turned into a bit of an empath, because if someone is in the room with me, or just in general, like I generally can feel their pain. Not all the time, but like some of the time I can feel the other person's pain and their emotions, and it's just a really weird experience. I rambled a little bit about that, but like I'll just read this paragraph. So if owl is your personal medicine, no one can deceive you about what they are doing, no matter how they try to disguise it or hide it from you. You may be a little frightening to be around, since so many people have ulterior motives which you see right through. If you are unaware of your medicine power, you may take your keen insights and abilities for granted. Yeah, so I'm just now thinking that this might be a thing. Like, I would never have considered having owl medicine. Others never do. You may frighten them and reflect to their blindness, for you cannot be fooled. Owl medicine people know more about an individual's inner life than that person knows about herself or himself or themselves. Yeah. I wouldn't say all the time, but I have, like, picked up things about people that they've never even noticed about themselves, and I'm like, yeah, this thing about you, and they're like, what? Oh, interesting. It's really weird. So then, because I pulled the owl card for June, if you have pulled the owl card, you are being asked to use your powers of keen, silent observation to intuit some life situation. Owl is befriending you and aiding you in seeing the total truth. Owl can bring you messages in the night through dreams or meditation. Pay attention to signals and omens. The truth always brings further enlightenment. So, like, this is why I'm really hyped, because that last paragraph is telling me to pay attention to my dreams in the month of June, because I pulled the card for June, and I was like, you know, this is going to represent my month or something I need to pay attention to this month, however, whatever one it's going to be. So, like, I'm excited because I say it's been a couple days, but I guess it's only been a day or two since I've pulled the card, and I've already gotten a dream, and it's really exciting. So, I've talked about what happened in the dream, and then I've talked about this. So now I'm going to talk about a couple other things besides the owl medicine. Another thing I wanted to mention was that while I was asleep, my roommates were listening to My Brother and Me, which is a podcast with the three McElroy brothers. If you don't know them, they're Griffin, Justin, Travis, and Griffin, and then their dad. The four of them have a podcast called The Adventure Zone, which is, I think, pretty well known in the D&D world. They do D&D and kind of tabletop gaming, so if you're into that sort of thing, you've probably heard of them. But then the three brothers just have a podcast for the three of them. It's kind of like a life advice show, except they don't really give advice. They just sort of, like, talk about it and might give you advice, but they probably don't. They're just kind of, like, saying that they're stupid and they don't have any great ideas. They have some pretty good insights, but, like, they're not able to give advice that well, so it's really entertaining. But the point is, my roommates were listening to that, and it was just loud enough that I could hear the voices as I was passing out to sleep. And in My Brother and Me, there is an episode where they read a story from this guy who used washable markers and sticky notes, or just notes and paper in general, and stuck the notes on the dog and sent the dog around to different family members. So the fact that the notes were attached to the dogs, I'm not surprised. Also, on the other dogs, which I didn't mention, actually, but on the other dogs there were, like, notes, but I didn't recognize the handwriting, so my thought is, like, maybe it was, like, that's a theory. I'm gonna wait on that. So, like, it just sort of surprised me that there were notes on the dogs, and then I walked up to the first dog, and that it was a note for me, and I didn't have to, like, wander around, so I thought that was kind of interesting. And then the last thing was that my roommates had a second dog, and one of my roommates has been talking about wanting to get a second dog for a while. Like, both of them do, but one of them in particular has been talking about wanting to get a second dog for a while, and so the fact that they had two dogs is just like, is this a dream that's, like, predicting something that's not actually going to happen in June? It's going to happen in a couple months when they were talking about getting the second dog, or what? Okay, since I was just talking about how I was able to walk up to that first dog and see that it was a handwritten note that I had written at some point, even if I didn't get to read the text on it right away, but I just recognized my handwriting. The fact that I walked up, the first dog that I walked up to in particular had my handwriting, makes me think that, yes, one of my theories is that it's probably something very obvious, whatever the message that either the owl medicine or just in general something in my life is trying to tell me. It's something very obvious, something I probably already know, I have already written down at some point in my life, and I just have forgotten it, and I need to go back to it, and I don't know what it is, so this is, like, very interesting. So yeah, so the dream represented either a lost idea, a lost goal, or a reminder that I've forgotten about and I need to return inwards to reflect on and find out what it is. The second theory is that it's something that's going to take place in a couple months. The thing that connects with that is my roommate did a tarot card spread that's like a year in advance and looks at, like, every single month up until for a year, every single month for a year. She did one for me in March because she didn't have the cards in January, so she did one for me in March, and in August, the cards said that something big is going to happen in August. I don't know, August and September, and, like, and in January, which is when we've been thinking about moving. So, like, August, September, and January, those were, like, the 3 months that they talked about something, like, really big, like, happening in my life, and I'm just like, is the dream telling me, like, what was the dream trying to tell me, like, what is going to happen in one of those months, maybe? Like, that's another theory. The third one was a bit literal, my third theory that I had, and that is that I've lost a note that I've already written, and I just need to find it, and that's, like, the note that I need to, like, read I don't know why, but I feel like sometimes my dreams can be very literal, so I'm just like, that's a possibility. And then my last theory is that I need to either dream again, so I'm probably going to have more dreams along this, since I did get this tarot and I've already dreamed this early in the month, so I'm probably going to continue to dream more, so I need to dream, and like all the dreams are going to be connected about whatever this thing is. Or I'd need to do another tarot reading and specify what it is I need to find, or what it is I'm missing, or I need to do some sort of practice to make myself more mindful and to help myself figure out what I'm missing. So then it comes to a question of, what am I missing? What is it that I need to intuit? And I don't know. So yeah. I'm like literally shaking right now because I'm like really excited about this. Like, it's just been a while since I have dreamed, and it's like connected me back to the real world. Like, I think it's been like over a year now. So I'm like very excited to be having this again, but I'm also like kind of frightened because I don't know what it is that I need to find out, and I don't know what will happen when I find out. But yeah, so I'm gonna leave a link to Harmony Nice's video if you'd like to watch it. It is very, like, she does not leave out any detail, and she describes everything. So if you're not comfortable with any sort of like spirit encounters, especially like evil spirits, would not recommend watching at all, but if you're okay with it, check it out. And actually, just check out her channel in general. She's like really awesome, and she talks about Wicca and witchcraft and like other things. She also talks about like unsolved murder mysteries, so if that's something you would like, she has a whole playlist of that. You could at least watch those videos of hers. But anyway, she's really awesome. You should check her out. I'll also leave a link to this Twitter thread. And as a side note, also, something that I have been recently listening to was, in the last 2 days, I've started listening to Mirror by Stray Kids. It's a song. I'll leave a link to the music and to the lyrics, because the lyrics symbolize some of the stuff that I have been thinking about, and just has been talked about and within my dreams. So yeah, interesting stuff. I don't really know how to conclude this video, because one, I don't have an outro, and two, I don't really know what else to say. So I guess if you stay with me to the end of this, tell me what you think. I'm happy to discuss within the comments or elsewhere if we talk elsewhere. And yeah, that's it. That's this video. I don't have an outro, so namaste. Looking forward to figuring out what else is gonna happen with this. Yeah.